Hey, just a quick question. In your opinion, what is the worst rule that Rob Manfred has implemented or theorized into baseball? Because there's a lot. Perhaps it's the ghost runner in extra innings, or maybe you hate the pitch clock, and you might even dislike the 3-inch size increase in bases to manufacture more ceiling. I mean, 6 inches is a lot. And you could be mad at Manfred for a non-rule change for not including the challenge system for balls and strikes into the game yet. But, in my opinion, his worst rule change is none of these. In fact, it isn't even a rule. Yet. And I fear for baseball if it ever does become one. Because I believe the worst rule Rob Manfred has ever theorized is the golden at-bat. And I will make every attempt in this video to make you believe me as well. To start off, what is the golden at-bat rule? Well, according to Rob Manfred, he says it's putting your best player out there out of order at a particular point in the game. So, you can put whatever hitter you want, whenever you want, one time per game. It doesn't matter where the player is in the lineup, they can bat for someone else, but only once per game. To put it into perspective, let's say the Yankees are playing the Rays. The Yankees are down 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth, the bases are empty and there is one out, and it is none other than Aaron Judge should come to the plate to try to get something going. Normally if Judge gets out in any way, the Yankees essentially lose. Now, however, with the possible rule change, the Yankees could send Judge to the plate twice in the ninth to try out their luck again. No matter the outcome of the at-bat, the Yankees could use their golden at-bat to send Judge right back to the plate as long as New York didn't use it earlier in the game. This rule change could alter 4 things about baseball. The easiest one to identify is that batting records are broken much easier. It's easier to pass records for getting hits and home runs when you have 162 more plate appearances than the players from the record books. Barry Bonds' 73 home run season and 762 home run career records that were previously deemed impossible are now very attainable with the new possible rule changes. Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani would certainly break those records if the rule had been in the game since they started. And although this may sound bad, it really isn't. Sure, the players of the past didn't have so many rules in place to help them out, but Barry Bonds was definitely, shall we say, aided by some of the stuff he took. New rules will always be added, and players will get better over time, so those records will eventually get broken. But still, Hank Aaron's 755 home run campaign will always be more impressive than a 760 home run career that barely squeezes by just because of the extra 162 at-bats each year. However, breaking records easier is the least of our concerns. What really shouldn't be is the lack of diverse moments. Baseball is all about the moment. Take a game between the Brewers and the Diamondbacks on September 15th of this previous year, for example. Top of the 6th, 2 runners on in a tie game. Certainly a big moment. How about top of the 10th with 2 outs with the bases loaded in a tie game? Or bottom of the 10th tie game, bases loaded with nobody out? Those are certainly moments you remember the game for even years later. And this isn't even mentioning that the Diamondbacks were in a huge wildcard race at the time of this game, so there was a lot of tension in the air the whole night, and especially during those moments. All 3 of those moments were crucial to how the game played out, and all 3 of them were performed by different players. Now, optimally, in a critical situation, you would want your best hitter out there, someone who can deal with the pressure and can hit a home run from time to time. But what makes all 3 of these moments so interesting is that they weren't performed by a bona fide superstar or anything like that, but by Willy Adames, Jackson Chourio, and Eugenio Suarez. And sure, all 3 of these players are pretty decent hitters, but Chourio's numbers are clearly better than Adames' numbers. Who's to say the Brewers wouldn't want Chourio batting instead of Adames in a key situation like the one in the game? Also, when you find the average between these 3 players' average, on base percentage, and slugging percentage, they are still bested by the entire Diamondbacks team outside of slugging. And the Arizona Diamondbacks didn't even make the playoffs. So, while these hitters are good, they're not the best of the best. Yet still, in some of the most intense moments of the game, they were able to deliver just as good as any star player would in that situation. This all leads me to say, every big moment doesn't have to feature a star player. I won't deny it, it's really cool when Juan Soto homers against Hunter Gaddis in the 10th inning of an elimination game, But it's equally as cool when Lane Thomas hits a grand slam off of Tarek Skubal in the 5th inning of a winner-go-home Game 5. One of these players is a lot more popular than the other, but they were both able to deliver when their team needed it the most. Not every important at-bat in baseball needs to feature an all-star, but this is where the Golden Batter gets it wrong. The Golden Batter gives a star player the ability for an extra shot at hitting in the clutch over someone else in the lineup. Sure, it would create a better matchup for said hitter, but it does something so much worse in the process. If the Golden at-bat hasn't sounded all too bad yet, just wait. Things are about to get so much worse, because this is how the Golden at-bat breaks baseball. To explain how truly detrimental this rule can be to baseball, let's first go back to our example with the Yankees and the Rays. Bottom of the 9th, down by 1, and it's Aaron Judge's turn to bat. Judge ends up striking out, but in our world, the Golden at-bat exists, so the Yankees send Judge to the plate again, and the Tampa Bay pitcher just has to get Aaron Judge out again. Simple enough, right? Well, to put it simply, relievers are relievers for a reason. A good reliever will easily slice through an order the first time they see them, but their pitches are not good enough to fool the batter twice around. The batter can study as much tape on the reliever he wants, but actually seeing it in person just works so much better. And if the reliever is still on the mound the next time the batter is up, there's a good chance the ball won't be coming back. The reliever in our hypothetical world who is facing Judge is Andrew Kittredge, who played for the Rays from 2017 until 2023. His ERA as a relief pitcher for the first time through the order was .334. The second? 11.57. So clearly there's a difference. And putting Judge against Kittredge, again, right after he just struck out on what was probably his best put-away pitch, is just a death sentence to Kittredge. Aaron Judge is basically confirmed to hit a home run here. But what if the opposing team was allowed to switch their pitcher in between at-bats? Wouldn't that just essentially make the Golden Batter a pinch hitter? Well, the pinch hitter specializes at one thing and one thing only, and is really good at it. Usually this would be something like platoon stats, like a righty hitter versus a lefty pitcher. If he is in any other situation, he will not succeed, which is why he is reserved for late game and is not a starter. The Golden Batter, on the other hand, is most likely the best player on the team. He is a starter and doesn't care what kind of pitcher is on the mound because he is good enough to crush whatever pitch comes his way. If either of them is in the batter's box during a big moment, there's a much greater chance that they will get a hit. So the pinch hitter and the Golden Batter have about the same probability of getting a hit, only if there is a pitching change. However, the Golden Batter removes a certain level of thinking ahead that managers have done in the past, something that AJ Hinch and Stephen Vogt were masters at last year. No longer would the days of creating platoon advantages with the pinch hitter exist if you can just send your best player to the plate and get the same result. But between baseball, football, basketball, and hockey, baseball is unique in that having 1 or 2 star players on your team won't get you far if you don't have a decent team behind them. We saw this with the Angels just a little while back, when from 2018 to 2023, they had both Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout on the same team, yet were unable to even crack a .500 record. A golden at-bat would do wonders for a team like the Angels, but it would completely disregard the core principle of teamwork. But even with all this, the issues that would stem from the golden at-bat stretch much further than just on the field. Not only does it cause an unfair advantage to the hitter, but if a hitter gets 162 more at-bats a year, with most of them in critical situations, his contract will get driven up a lot. And while this may be great for the hitter, it is anything but that for the league. Let's go back to comparing the 4 major sports in America: MLB, NHL, NBA, and NFL. Besides the much bigger need for depth in baseball, there is one other huge difference between baseball and the rest. The NHL, NBA, and NFL all have a salary cap. The MLB does not. What is a salary cap, you may be asking? Simple. It's a set amount of money enforced onto every team in a league that they cannot go over. One of the reasons baseball players get paid so much is because there is no salary cap. This is something we just saw with Juan Soto, driving up his price tag out of a bidding war. In a salary cap league, his contract would be high, but it wouldn't be that high. In fact, the MLB already has an issue with big market clubs basically just buying entire teams from the best players in free agency. Teams like the late 1990s and early 2000s Yankees, and now the mid-2020s Dodgers. These teams are proven, or yet to be, dynasties simply because they had some of the deepest pockets in the whole league. So what happens when you combine a no salary cap league with the league where the golden at bat exists? 2 words: pure chaos. Suddenly, players like Bobby Witt Jr. and Ellie De La Cruz become much more useful for reasons previously established, and their price tag is jacked up at least $75 million. Small market teams like the Royals and the Reds would not be willing to pay for this extra money, but large market teams would. Let's just say a small market team does end up with a franchise player who can hit like no one else in their farm system, and let's just say that when this player gets to the major league level, they actually end up exceeding expectations. Well, that team better hope that they win a World Series in the small window that they have the franchise player signed to, because when that 6-year rookie contract is up, the owner of the team won't be willing to pay for what that player wants. Without the golden at bat, his contract would be cheaper and more affordable for management to sign him, but with it in place, his contract shoots up in value as he gets 162 more at bats and he must go to the richer teams. Now, I'm not trying to add a salary cap to baseball, or even a salary floor. What I'm doing, however, is trying to warn how much bigger the gap between small and big market teams gets when adding something like a golden at bat into a league without salary constraints. No matter where a star player starts off, if the owner is cheap, he won't be willing to pay the extra money added from the critical 162 at-bats, especially if there's no salary floor forcing him to do so. Thus, he must leave the organization and go to one of the teams that aren't afraid to spend money. Yes, this kind of thing is already happening in the MLB, but not to this extent. For example, Jose Ramirez, one of the best in the game, is signed on a 5-year contract worth $124 million to a team that spends the 4th least amount of money in all of baseball. Who knows where he would be if the golden at bat did exist, as it would drive up his contract substantially, but it probably wouldn't be with the Guardians. Now, to you, this extreme imbalance in teams and absurd strike in offense may not sound all too great, but to Rob Manfred, this just might be what he wants. There are 3 things Rob Manfred wants to change to baseball. He wants each game to be shorter, he wants there to be more offense, and he wants the superstars of the game to get more recognition. Basically, he wants more fan retention, aka he wants as much money from the fans as he can get without corrupting the game. And while the pitch clock, bigger bases, and limited pickoff attempts change the game, they don't break baseball. The golden batter will attract fans who weren't interested in baseball before because they thought it was too boring. But it will drive away fans because when you can put whatever batter you want in for the most critical part of a game, that's not baseball anymore. That's forcing a matchup between the best of the best for the purpose of views and entertainment. Think of it this way. It's like if the MLB added a one-time home run per game that doubles the normal amount of runs it would typically get. So a solo shot gets 2, a 2-run homer gets 4, and so on. Hypothetically, you could be down by 8 runs, it could still come back with 1 swing. This is just a more extreme version of the golden batter. It creates more offense, but it turns baseball more into a carnival act over an actual sport. But all that Rob Manfred sees is that the golden at bat adds offense and increases fan viewership and thinks to himself, that's a good idea. Maybe I should add that. What he fails to realize is how much it damages the integrity of baseball. It doesn't have to be a chaotic mess, sending a player of your choice to the plate when they need just this one hit just for the purpose of adding offense. Baseball always shines during the moment. At its core, it's just a game between the pitcher and the batter. In a close game during a tense moment, the fans are invested. It's dead silent, and it's just perfect. There's no need to add any spices like a golden batter to a moment like this. So why would you?